Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more rifle testing, and today we've got a pretty old school combination that I'm definitely excited to test out. It's been a little while since I brought this rifle out on the channel, and it's been a little while since I've shot it as well, and it's definitely a pretty unique one to say the least. And when I found this ammo in the local small town gun shop bargain bin the other day, I had to pick it up because number one, it's kind of impossible to find most of the time anyway, and number two, I want to see what it can do because I may hunt with this combo if it performs well. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what we can get from it. But as for the rifle we're running today, I brought out this guy. This is an old 1907 Lee Enfield in 303 British. If I release the bolt knob for you here, maybe you can kind of see it on camera there. It's 1907 SHTLE Mark 1 star that's been restamped over to a Mark 1 triple star. It's kind of confusing on what all of those kind of markings mean. And this one's covered in them up here around the barrel as well. On this side, you can see it's absolutely covered in all kinds of different stamps. So quick side note, if anybody actually legitimately knows a lot about these Enfields and all the markings you can get and what they mean and who had it and where it's been, then please let me know, get in contact with me, because I'd love to figure out what this actually is and where it's been and what it's done. But clearly, this one has been absolutely butchered when it was sporterized. It's still got the full barrel length and the original front sight, but the stock has been absolutely just cut to pieces. You can see it did have the volley sights on it. It still does have the rear volley sight back here, hiding right here, but it's got wood grafted in all over the place. It's got sling stud holes filled in all down here on the bottom of the stock as well, with a big old patch here. It did have the brass medallion, but that has been completely sanded smooth, so you can't even read what was on there. So pretty ugly rifle, but pretty unique one at that. And when I say this thing is worn out, it is on the ragged edge of worn out. Quite honestly, I don't know how it still shoots as good as it does, because the last, I would say, 1/4 inch of barrel, pretty much from the edge of the front sight forward, is smooth bore. It doesn't have any rifling. The middle of the barrel is good, although a little bit pitted, but it does the job. It's not worth a ton in this condition, that's for sure, but it's a beater that you can bring out of the safe and kind of do what you want with it and not be too mad about it. So we'll see what it is able to do with today's ammunition, especially with my eyesight and these pretty horrible sights that these old Enfields had on them. But for that ammunition, I happened to stumble across some of this. The classic Federal Power-Shok. This box is the older style box, but these are a 303 British 150 grain soft point, so they would be a pretty decent hunting option, that's for sure, if they're accurate through that rifle. And on the back here, it says 2690 for a muzzle velocity. So we'll see how close I get to that number as well. So a little bit of an interesting find here, and hopefully it does well, because if I want to hunt with this might be what I go with. It has done well with a number of other similar loads, so I've got decent hopes overall. As for our testing today, how we're going to run it, obviously that rifle does not have a scope on it, and it's got some very rudimentary iron sights on it. My eyesight is okay, but I don't have the vision of a hawk or anything like that. So for me, 50 to 60 yards is about realistic for what I can confidently do with this rifle and those sights. So we're going to shoot 2 groups. Both of them are going to be at 50 yards, and we're going to do 5 shots apiece per each group, all of which will be through the chronograph as well. And that should give us a decent idea on what I can do with this combo and if it likes this ammunition or not. And of course, between each of those groups, I will let the rifle cool down for a good bit of time. That way we don't get too much barrel heat in it. So enough rambling. Let's get you guys a view of that 50-yard target. We'll shoot a couple groups and see what we're able to get from a really beat up, old, worn out 303 Enfield with these Federal Power-Shoks. All right, so we'll take a quick look at our chrono numbers before we look at our target. Boss claim is 2690 for these. However, I don't think we were seeing that. Measuring our barrel from the absolute tip of the muzzle all the way back to where it meets the receiver, so essentially from primer to muzzle, is 24.5 inches. I don't believe this barrel's ever been cut down or anything, so there's a good chance that Federal probably tested these through a little bit longer of a barrel than that, I would imagine, which is why we didn't see that. But our high was 2665. Our low was 2576. That gave us an average of 2615. So that's 75 feet per second below their boss claim. That's probably a couple inches of barrel length with an extreme spread of 89 and a standard deviation of 23. So at an average of 2615, that's obviously plenty good enough if I was going to deer hunt with these or anything like that. 150 grain soft point at that velocity is going to expand and actually perform properly. But here are your muzzle energies for 150 grainer at 2615, so you can see what we're pushing. And again, obviously that is plenty good enough to do the job. But let's swing around and look at our target and see how accurate this combination was. All right, so here we have our targets, and I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing here. We're obviously hitting a little bit low and left. I did adjust my view of the front sight post a little bit on the second group to see if I could move it up a little bit, and we did. But we are seeing some pretty nice looking results here, to be honest with you. Our first group over here on the left, we had 3 shots that were pretty much all in the same hole. We just made one oblong bullet hole with one that's almost touching and one that's a little bit low. If I had to imagine, that low one was probably our first shot. I didn't go back and review the footage, but that would be my guess. I felt okay about all the trigger pulls today, but that was probably my worst trigger pull, to be honest with you. But either way, if we are grouping them like this and I can actually do my part and keep it like that, then you can't complain about that. 50 yards for a very worn out old Enfield with some pretty disappointing sights on it. I'll take that all day long. But we had a total of 1.87 inches of spread for our entire 5 shots right there, and our best 4 was all the way down at 0.64. That's for these 4 shots right here. So that's pretty nice. Out of that rifle at 50 yards with my eyesight, you can't complain one bit about that. I quite honestly don't understand how that rifle shoots as good as it does, but it just seems to keep getting better the more I shoot it. Maybe we're having a little bit of fouling kind of fill in the not so great rifling and the pitting and stuff, and it's really starting to get a nice tight proper seal on the rifling and really stabilize our bullets, because that's the only thing I can imagine as to why that rifle shoots as good as it does. Clearly it isn't quite worn out yet. But moving over to our second 50-yard group over here, again, I did let the rifle cool down for 7 or 8 minutes or so between each of our groups. The barrel never got hot, just very, very slightly warm to the touch at the end of this group. We had 3 shots looking very nice here, and then we kind of flung 2 other ones a little bit outside. That was most likely me. I felt good about the trigger pull, but when you got sights like that and you can barely see the center red dot as it is with that front sight pin covering up pretty much this entire circle, those 2 were probably me more than likely. But overall spread was 3.32 inches for everything, including these 2 outside, and our best 3 shots were at 0.89, that being these 3 right here. So still, it looks like if I can do my job, we can pretty easily get sub 1 inch at 50 yards all day long. So can't argue one bit about that. And I would be curious too, with that rifle being as butchered as it is, if I were to figure out some sort of way to mount some kind of optic on it, if we had a scope on that, I bet it would be a pretty good shooter all the way out to 100 yards all day long. I quite honestly don't know how, yet again. It surprises me every time when I shoot this rifle and I'm able to get groups like that. It is only 50 yards, and going out to 100, that front sight would cover up most of that entire target where you wouldn't be able to see much of anything. I could probably shoot a deer with it out there with open sights if I had perfect conditions, but 50-60 yards is what I would run that for, and clearly it is more than capable of doing it, that's for sure. These Federals seem to hit a little bit lower than some of the other loads that I've tested, so I may have to adjust that rear sight just a little bit, but that's no big deal. Either way, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. The little flyers most likely were me not having an absolutely perfect view of that sight picture. So somehow or another, I think that rifle speaks for itself. It may be ugly, but it's not worn out yet. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about those results right there? Once again, this almost 120-year-old Enfield is just a good shooter. It really continues to surprise me when I test different rounds through it. It really doesn't seem to be too picky. It'll eat just about everything you can put through it, and everything that I've actually legitimately tested for accuracy has been plenty usable enough for a 50 to 60 yard deer hunt. Most of the time, you're looking at about an inch or better in this case. If I can do my part on the trigger and actually get a consistent view of that front sight post on the target that you can barely even see from that distance, and that front sight blocks most of it anyway, then it can be a really nice shooter. And like I just mentioned, I'd be really curious if there's some easy way to just throw a scope on there. It's already butchered as it is, so you're not going to be hurting the value of it at all, but I'm curious what it could do if you actually had some sort of optic on there. As worn out as that rifle is, and as many stamps and markings over top of markings and re-stamps and everything else, wouldn't be surprised if that rifle was used through multiple wars, and it could have been some sort of specialty type deal where they tested it at the factory, and that's why they kept recirculating it, because the thing just kept shooting as good as it did. I don't know. Like I said earlier, I'd love to have somebody who actually is knowledgeable about all those markings look at it and tell me exactly what it is and where it came from and what it's been through. So clearly it may be ugly, it may look worn out, but it's still got something in the tank, that's for sure. So leave all your thoughts down below. Is it about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Do you have an old Enfield, and have you ever tested it for accuracy? And if so, what kind of results have you been getting out of it? Is that a combo you would ever hunt with if you're getting those kind of groups? And maybe what other stuff do you want to see me do with this old Enfield? If I can find some other ammunition for it, do you want to see me test it? Do you maybe want to see me try and hunt with it? I think that would be pretty fun. But leave all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.